above start, but below this line about player controller and mono behavior, and we'll just press enter a couple of times to bring things down, and we want to create some variables that the game will interact with and make magical things happen. So we'll type in public float, and public means that like anything in the game can access it, and within the program you'll be able to adjust numbers yourself. Float is a type of numbers, so you have floats are numbers that have like 7.5 or 7.6 or a million point 37 or whatever. You can also have ints, which are just whole numbers, so you can only be like 7, 3, 27, whatever. So we're going to call this public float move speed, which will control how fast our character moves. And we're going to create another one called public float jump height, like that. Okay, so now we've got these two things. Those are numbers that we're going to be able to set from within Unity, but we're not going to worry about setting them yet. What we're going to do is determine how our character is controlled and how he moves. So we want him to be able to jump. So we go if, and then we make these little brackets. The way things are structured is you have if, you have these curly normal brackets, and then you have curly brackets like this. So in this little section here is like where you input questions basically. So if input dot get key down, and then you put another little set of curly brackets, and then within that you put in key code dot space, and that means it'll check for when the space bar is pressed down. That's what that little section of code there does. And so then if we just press enter and press enter from inside those two brackets, so now what it does is it goes if this little situation is true, if input that key down space is pressed, then it'll run whatever we put in here. So we go rigid body, which is the thing that we just added to this guy. Hold on, let me go to player. So player, see we have a rigid body 2D that we added. So to be able to interact with that, we go if blah 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 rigid body 2D dot velocity, and the velocity is the speed that the player is moving at, and it happens from left to right, which is the X value, and up and down, which is the Y value. So we want to set that velocity whenever someone presses the jump button, we want their velocity upwards to be set to our jump height. So we go rigid body 2D dot velocity is equal to new vector 2. So vector 2 is basically just a number that holds an X and a Y value. It has two inputs, and that's all you need to know really. So it has an X and a Y value. So we go new vector 2 and we create these little curly brackets again, and then within that we have two values. So when we press jump, we don't want that to affect your character moving left to right. So the X value will be 0. But we do want it to affect how much your player is jumping. So we'll put the Y value. See the way it helpfully puts a float Y when you move in position. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. But we want that to be the jump height. So we type in jump height here. And there you go. And then we move over here, and it's important to always end every sentence with this little thing here. Every like statement has to end with that, just in case you don't know anything about C#. So anyway, this little bit of code here, let's test that out in the game. Oh, I hit Control and S to save there. Sometimes this little message will come up, but if it does, just hit convert and it'll be fine. And we go back to the game. You see this little spinny icon here. That means that the script that you just typed is compiling. You have to wait for that to finish, and then you can hit the play button. So we hit play here. Oh no, we won't hit play, sorry. Go back to this bit. We create a script, but when you create a script and you want to actually do something with it, you have to attach it to the object that you want it to work on. So we have our player here. What we want to do is go add component, and then go to scripts and player controller was the one we just created. So look, now we have these two numbers that we created inside. Move speed we won't worry about yet, but jump height, just from my playing around with this thing earlier on, we want to set the jump height to 15, and we actually want to set the gravity scale to 5, and I'll show you why that is now in a second. But now if we hit the play button, once it starts running, look, we can jump up and down. We still can't move left to right obviously, but we can jump up and down. The gravity scale that I just set, if we put that back to 1, you'll see that, oh, he's jumping way too high, and he's kind of not moving very fast as well. So we could bring the jump height down nice and low, so change that to 5 and jump, and see, he just kind of falls too slowly. So what I find is if you put up the gravity scale and put up the jumping power, basically, you hit space, look, it looks like he's kind of jumping much more naturally and realistic. So I find that that's good for the game, but you can fiddle around with these numbers and find what you think works best for whatever you're working on. And it's important to remember as well, if you make changes to anything while the game is running, when you hit, say if I change this to 200, that's crazy. He's jumping like a mad thing. But if you change that there and then stop playing the game, the values will all return to what their original thing was. So that's gone back to 15. So now if I press play again, once it starts running, see, he's just back to doing that again. So now we have him jumping, we need him to move side to side. So let's go here, and we can copy this whole section basically. If we select it all, Control and C, Control and V, just copy it all, because we can reuse a lot of this. And it's important to always kind of try and reuse the same bits whenever you can. Save yourself some time. So we're going to move left and right using A and D to kind of the normal kind of, like if you play first-person shooter games or anything like that, those are the kind of controls that you will be used to using. But so that's what we're going to use here. So keycode dot A is what we're going to use to move. No, we're going to do moving right first. So keycode.d is what moves you right, and then rigidbody2d.velocity. So last time we had 0 for the x value because we didn't want to affect him moving side to side, and we had jump height to make him jump up. So this time we're going to get 0 on jump height because moving left to right, we don't want to make him move up and down. And then here, instead of 0, we're going to use move speed. So move speed. So what that'll do is basically when you press D, it'll go, okay, well, what's our move? Are we moving? No, move speed. Go. And then we're going, oh no, sorry, what am I doing? I'm making no sense. We'll copy that exact bit of stuff again, but this time we're going to be moving left. So say this move speed, we set that to 5. So then when you're press your D button to move right, you're adding velocity. So you're adding 5 to make yourself go to the right. But if we want to go to the left, we want to go at a minus velocity. So rather than having to add another number or anything like that, and we have to specify it, we can just go minus move speed. So if that's 5, then this bit will become automatically minus 5, which is helpful, super handy, super easy. That's the best thing about Unity. There's lots of things that are super easy. And most importantly, it's very easy to learn Unity. There's so many resources out there for you to learn how to do anything. But yes, let's hit the play button now. Oh no, we need to give him move speed, most importantly, or else we won't be able to move anything at all. So we're going to set this to 5 and then hit that play button. And look, we can move kind of slightly, I don't know. He's only moving a tiny little bit. Oh, I know why he's only moving a tiny little bit. See, this is the thing. Sometimes you do silly things. So if you wanted to do this would be perfectly fine. If you wanted your character to only move one little bit every time you press the button, that would be fine. You could do that. But what you really want is you hold the button down, you should move lots. But unfortunately, because I just copied the code and didn't think about it, we don't want get key down. What we want is just get key. Because what get key down does is it only triggers that one time that the button is first pressed. But what we want is for it to happen every time the button is being pressed down. So that's why you do get key. So we'll do get key for both of them. Hit the save button again. And once it finishes compiling down the corner here, we hit play. And there you go. Look, now we can move side to side. We can walk along. But we've got a problem. We can't jump. There's nothing happening. And when we do jump, we can do just kind of fall down all weird. And that's because when we set it to 0, I set it to 0 just to make it nice and simple. But we don't want it just, because if we set it to 0, then it's saying that like, oh, you can't fall, you can't jump, anything like that. So what we actually want it to be is, instead of 0, we want to take the value that the player already has and just not change that. So what we want to do is rigid body. See, once you start typing something as well, it'll create like a little shortcut thing, so you can use up and down to switch between different things. So we want to go rigid body 2D here. Rigid body dot velocity dot y, and that'll get the value that the character already has when he's moving up and down or anything like that. So we want to get rigid body 2D dot velocity dot y and copy that and replace it here. And here, rather than being 0, what we want is rigid body 2D dot velocity dot x. So then the x value is being replaced, and now we'll head back to the game. Hit the play button. And there we go. Look, now our character can jump up and down, he can go crazy places, he can do anything he wants to do. You can jump on all these things up and down all over here, and look, he can even make it up here. But the only problem now is you can hit space as many times as you want and that player is going to go crazy. So that's something we're going to deal with in the next video. We're going to make sure that our character can only jump when he's like on the ground. When you know he's on the ground, that's when he can go wee, jumping up and down. But that's an episode or an issue for another episode. So yes, here we go. This is the first episode of this little series. Kind of went on a bit longer than I thought, but that's okay, because hopefully it'll be useful for all you guys out there. And if you want to see more in this series and see more of how to make a 2D game all for yourself, then yes, leave some comments down below, hit that like button, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. But thanks for watching. I'm Games Plus James. This is Unity, and this is a little green jumping guy. Woo!